You know, if you told me that I would upload a video where one of my requested changes was more communication for the survivors, and then the next day Behavior states that they'd implement something close to that, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. Behavior recently did a developer AMA where they answered various questions, one of them being about survivors having more options to communicate in solo queue, which leads us to this chat wheel feature that Behavior is talking about, where survivors can use various presets and pings to communicate with one another. Of course you can turn this feature off, but I doubt any survivor player with an IQ higher than 70 would actually do that. It's also apparently coming in the fall mid-chapter, so what are my thoughts on it exactly? Well, you can already surmise on the title alone, but I'll say it for the people who are blind. This feature will not work in actually solving the problem. I'll say it one more time for the people in the back. This feature will not work in actually solving the problem. There are 3 separate reasons this feature won't work, each more daunting than the last, about as daunting as it can be for incompetent and greedy behavior over here. The first reason is because the pings and presets can't substitute actual communication. In a game like Dead by Daylight, where strategy is almost everything, you need to be able to communicate various strategies with your teammates, especially if they're fucking boosted. Presets and pings are only reactionary, never fully giving you that ability to actually communicate the problem with the team, something I actually brought up in my comment. For example, survivors may try to ping each other various presets regarding chase and getting hooked after a survivor gets hooked early on, but no one can say the actual problem, which was the fact that a survivor got hooked too early, which means they weren't that great in chase. Stuff like this prevents 1. Survivor players learning from their mistakes and improving, which is why solo queue is infamous, and 2. Solving the problem. You can only solve the problem after addressing the actual issue. If you're unable to address the actual issue, it's not gonna matter how many pings you have. Marvel Rivals understands this. That's why you get a 3-in-1 deal: type in chat system, voice chat system, and the ping system. Now you may be asking why I still posted a comment despite the AMA being over, and that's because I didn't really want Behavior to respond. I wanted everyone else to see it. And remember that last point about Marvel Rivals because we'll circle back to it later. Of course, the second reason, which is the most obvious to killer mains, is that lower tier killers will get an even bigger shaft than they already do now because of it. Ghostface and Trapper being the best examples of this. Of course, Behavior said that they were going to give killers the necessary buffs to deal with the system, but let's just be honest. What do they actually think is necessary? Because these were the same idiots that thought base kit unbreakable needed to be a thing in a game like Dead by Daylight. I do not trust Behavior's judgment when it comes to anything related to balance. The only thing I can trust Behavior to do is pander to a marginalized community with pride charms and cosmetics before they actually implement good changes that will solve a problem we've had in this community for the past 10 years of this game's existence. The third reason is because this is just a band-aid solution that doesn't actually fix the problem, just lets the community who only have 2 brain cells to work with think that the problem's fixed when it's not. This chat wheel system isn't going to solve the fact that survivors can't call each other out for making bad plays. This chat wheel system isn't going to solve the fact that these survivors can't strategize with each other clearly. And this chat wheel system definitely won't solve the fact that no matter how many pings you implement, if you're unable to address the actual issue, the problem won't be solved. And speaking of an actual issue, this goes back to a much larger one. Behavior is doing the bare minimum when it comes to this game, and it fucking shows. They could have voice chat, type in chat, and the chat wheel for survivors. That way they can have all 3 just in case one fails, or someone is unfortunate enough to not afford the best possible option. And this is where we go back to that Marvel Rivals comment I made earlier. Marvel Rivals understands the importance of all 3. That's why you get all 3. Behavior either doesn't understand or just straight up doesn't care about the importance of all 3. That's why Justin's sounding so excited and proud of Behavior for finally implementing something that players have been talking about for the past 4 years just doesn't sit right with me. They really think their community is that stupid and low that they'll accept scraps of a concept they should have gotten years ago and praise it as the next coming of Christ. But to be fair, they kind of already do that, so I can't blame them too much.